With just a few weeks left until Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes finally hits theaters, opening weekend predictions from box office analysts have begun to come out, and I wanted to give my own personal predictions for how I think the film will end up doing. If you like what I do here and want to show your support, be sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. Enjoy the video. Welcome back to Ape Nation, your number one source for all things Planet of the Apes on YouTube. My name is Josh, and today I'm doing something a little bit different than usual, and that is talking about the box office potential of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I know that box office and money and how movies do financially isn't interesting to everybody, so just a fair warning, if you're not into that kind of thing, you're probably not going to enjoy this video. But if you are, or you just want to hear me talk about more Planet of the Apes stuff, feel free to stick around. But I wanted to talk about this because I always think it's a little bit fun, kind of interesting to talk about how you think a movie might do financially versus how it ends up doing. It's cool to see those predictions, how things line up, and also to see what analysts say and compare it to what past movies have made. So I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown of how the Planet of the Apes movies have done so far, what I think this one's going to do, and why, and all that kind of stuff. So let's just get right into it. This all stems from about a week ago, I think, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. The first opening weekend projections came out from Deadline for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, who gave their starting predictions at $54 to $61 million domestic opening weekend. And then following that, Box Office Pro, I think about a week or so later, came out with a slightly lower prediction of 40 to 50 million domestic opening weekend, as well as a domestic total haul of 100 to 140 million dollars. So right off the bat, this puts the movie, at least on Box Office Pro's prediction, projecting it to be a little bit smaller than the past few Apes films, whereas Deadline's prediction on the opening weekend has it opening on the higher side of things when compared to past Planet of the Apes films. So speaking of past Planet of the Apes films, before I get into my predictions, I wanted to take a look at what the past movies have actually made. So when you look at Rise of the Planet of the Apes, it opened to $54.8 million in the US, and then went on to make a grand total of almost $482 million total worldwide. And then you get to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which made $72.6 million opening weekend, and then worldwide it took a huge leap from Rise and made over $710 million. But then when you get to War for the Planet of the Apes, you had an opening weekend that was a bit softer with $56.2 million, but still bigger than Rise, and a worldwide total that again is a little bit bigger than Rise, but a huge step down from Dawn with just under $491 million worldwide. And when it comes to War for the Planet of the Apes, and I will talk about this a bit in my review for the movie, which will be out early next week, by the way, but that movie was facing a bit of an uphill battle that the other two movies didn't really have to face. It was going up against a lot of competition. Specifically, it was sandwiched between Spider-Man Homecoming the week before and then Dunkirk the week after. So it had a lot going up against it. I think it would have done at least 100, if not $150 million more had it not had that competition. I also think just the nature of that movie definitely hurt it, the kind of more dark, somber tone of it. It's very grim. It's not exactly a fun movie to watch at times. So I understand why that took a bit of a hit, but I don't think it's necessarily reflective of the quality of the film or the quality of the trilogy as a whole or how people feel about it. I think it was just unfortunate circumstances that led to that. So I think when people say, oh, the last movie bombed, obviously you can only go by numbers. And the thing is, it still did well. It just, when you dig into why it underperformed compared to Dawn, I think it's kind of more of an anomaly and more of a standalone situation than reflective of the entire Apes franchise. So with all that being said, I want to now get into my predictions for what I think Kingdom is going to make. And while I don't think this movie is going to be this insane, massive smash hit similar to what Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was, just because it has been a bit of a long time, and the Planet of the Apes franchise isn't one of these massive series of movies that makes $1 billion+. That being said, I think this is going to do a bit better than some people are predicting, although I don't think it's going to do as well as some of the fans are hoping and thinking it will do. But I'm putting things a bit in the middle. I think opening weekend, you're looking at about $60 million domestic. I think this movie opens very strong. I think that $54 to $61 million, I think it's going to open on the higher side of that to about $60 million. As far as my worldwide prediction, as far as what it's going to make in total, this entirely depends on how good the movie is. If it's good to great, I'd say it probably around $525 to $550 million. So I'll play on the high side and I'll go $550 million for where I think it's going to end up in the total. So I think it'll do better than Rise and War. I still don't think it's going to touch Dawn, but I think it's going to do really well. The only reason I don't think it'll go much higher than that is just because, and this hasn't been confirmed yet, but the runtime reportedly is 2 hours and 25 minutes. So it is a bit on the longer side of things. Not that that necessarily means less people will see it, but that longer runtime does turn people off sometimes. It also means that theaters can't play it as often. But that being said, that runtime has still not been officially confirmed by anybody. It's just, for now, as far as I know, it is just a placeholder runtime for the theater listings. But for all I know, it could be completely legit. But getting into the why of my predictions, like I said, I think it's going to make around 60 million opening weekend, assuming the movie is good, about $550 million worldwide. As for the why, one of the first things is that you have a lot of people who never saw the Rise, Dawn, and War films. They never saw the Caesar trilogy in theaters, and especially younger audiences who have now discovered these movies over the last 7 years. You look on things like TikTok and also on YouTube, you see a lot of people reacting to these movies now over the last few years, especially in the last year. It's grown a lot in popularity. A lot more people are aware of these movies now than they were when they were coming out, but it has found more of an audience over the years, and I think that's going to significantly help Kingdom do really well. I think that has made the buzz for this movie even bigger than I think it would have originally been, which is another point because the marketing has been really strong and the excitement online feels like it has continued to grow and get bigger, and there's so much buzz. So I think there is a lot of momentum going into this movie that gives it a big chance to do well.
What a wonderful day!
A couple other things is that Disney and 20th Century Studios, they are going very heavy on marketing now. They are releasing new TV spots every couple of days. They're putting a lot of money into posters, into billboards, into trailers, into TV spots. They're putting a lot of money into the marketing campaign for this, which to me shows that they have a lot of confidence in the movie, which often translates to positive reviews. It translates to they believe this is a good movie. This is something that people will like, that's going to do well with critics, which will then hopefully translate to doing well with audiences and will potentially mean a great box office run. And there's also the fact that, and this is a whole conversation that I could have just outside of this channel, but there's a real hunger, I think, in moviegoers today for great blockbusters and franchise films that are outside of the typical stuff that we get now, which namely is superhero films and reboots and remakes. Planet of the Apes kind of sets itself apart because, yes, it is a rebooted franchise, but it's also one that we haven't revisited in 7 years. It's also one that doesn't give us a whole lot outside of the movies. You get one movie every few years, whether it be every 3 years or every 7 years, and they're always good. People love them. They're always well received and people like to see them. They get excited to go see them. And also when you look at the last few years of movie going and what the statistics have been, you see movies like Top Gun Maverick or Dune Part 2 this year, or Barbie or Oppenheimer last year also doing really, really well and doing so much better than the movies that would have been done really well 4 or 5 years ago. And so I think Planet of the Apes kind of fits more into that mold of genre and blockbuster films that are what audiences are looking for. It's something a bit different. It's something not quite in the same vein as the stuff we're getting every month. I think that will go a long way in helping the movie do really well. So that more or less sums up why I think it's going to do as well as I think it's going to do. I think 550 million is where I think this will end up with a $60 million opening weekend. Those are my predictions for how Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes will do at the box office when it comes out in theaters in just a few weeks. Let me know what you think of my predictions. Let me know what your predictions are if you have any. If you are into the box office thing, it's totally cool if you're not, but I want to know what you all have to say down in the comments below. Thank you so much for checking out today's video here on Ape Nation. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. I'll catch you in the next one, so until then, goodbye.